This is Jared with the Life of a Marketer podcast. Welcome, everyone, once again. And on today's podcast, I have Chad Person. Chad is a fractional CMO. So I'm going to let him introduce himself as well. And Chad, tell us about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity, Jared, to be here. Yeah, so I'm my background is about 20 or so years, primarily as a marketing leader in the professional services industry. That's been with large CPA firms that also offer a wide array of kind of B2B services, everything from technology to HR consulting to operations and performance improvement and so forth. So not just the financial stuff, a bit of the just kind of the operational areas as well. My role today is kind of providing marketing leadership to B2B organizations, and I do that on a fractional basis. I think most people probably know what that's all about, but it essentially means I come in many times to organizations that don't have executive level marketing expertise, so maybe need more of it for a certain period of time because they're breaking into a new market or developing maybe some new plans or initiatives, launching a new product as an example. But I come in to kind of fill a gap and help an organization create marketing strategy that aligns with their growth goals, and gives me an opportunity to kind of come in and use those 20 plus years of experience to really help organizations again that are missing a lot of those key marketing ingredients to maintain success or build success in the future.
All right, awesome. I'm sure today on the podcast, I might have some questions about accounting, marketing for accounting firms and B2B
Sure.
services.
Sure.
What's the best thing about being in the marketing industry?
Yeah, for me, without question, it's the variety of work. And I think that probably um, I would say that's probably a real benefit to being in the marketing industry as a whole. There's plenty, as you know, of opportunities to learn a lot of tactical and strategical, if you will, insights, and educate yourself and so forth. You can specialize in a certain area, or you can kind of have a broad level of expertise. And so, yeah, I really enjoy the variety of work and problems that I help clients solve.
That's so true. We live in an ever evolving
Yeah,
landscape with marketing now, and there's always something new you can learn.
absolutely.
What sort of advice do you offer to those that are in the marketing industry right now?
Yeah, I guess my advice isn't necessarily related to any kind of strategy or tactic. Those, as you suggested, are always evolving. It's probably more of just kind of the way they think about their career and themselves. I mean, a couple of pieces of advice I would give is, number one, as you just suggested, things are changing, constantly. So just embrace change, right? I think that's important to put yourself in a position where you evaluate everything as a new opportunity. You take some calculated risks. You try some things that are new, and just be open to change and the learning that comes with it. And then the second thing I would say is, you know, take responsibility for your own career development. Again, going back to the opportunities to learn. Take ownership of your career development. Pursue specialized skills, and never stop learning would be the other one.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So I want to dive in a little bit since it sounds like kind of you specialize in helping the B2B accounting service firms and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually I've never, which is very strange because I've worked in a lot of industries, but I've never worked with an accounting firm before. What are some of the, and this will be good for our listeners as well. What are some of the strategies and tactics that are really powerful for an accounting firm?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the accounting industry is not unlike other professional services areas where you have in many ways you're selling the expertise, right, of individuals, of other professionals. And so it is branding is really important. Positioning your organization is credible, and making sure they're visible is key. But when you get into the professional services space, again, a la CPA firms, it really does come down to the individuals and driving them and supporting them to become visible experts in the marketplace. And they can do that in a lot of different ways. Develop helping you develop content that showcases their expertise, participating in webinars, podcasts like this, industry specializations, and again being visible and um, you know um, participating in those opportunities that exist, that fall in line with their specialized expertise. All those things are really, I think, critical in that space. It's again, we live in a world where most businesses, generally value not just working with a CPA, but a CPA that really specializes in their line of their industry, right, in their business. And so the movement for many years has been for CPAs to no longer just focus on audit or tax work, but become an expert in tax in the manufacturing industry, right, and really know that inside and out. And so, it's a marketer's responsibility in that industry to ensure that they're showcasing the firm and the individuals in it, expertise as it aligns with the needs and how clients really frame value, right, in the marketplace. So hopefully that
So,
helps a little.
so you find yourself doing list building and then and content, and that's kind of one of your main strategies?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the, and again, not unlike other industries, but there's no question that leveraging content, all forms of it, frankly, increasingly, has been video for some time, but all forms of content. And yes, leveraging that content to continue to educate existing clients, because again, most of the firms I've worked for have been far more than just accounting firms. They've provided a lot of really robust solutions that businesses can use in technology and operations and HR. So yeah, educating clients on what the full capabilities of the firm are, and then yes, in terms of net new clients, no question, generating lists of business prospects that you can begin to build, hopefully build some awareness with, and build some trust long before you acquire them. Because again, content, right, and really great content, especially from a thought leadership advancement perspective, is making consumers of it smarter operators, smarter managers, creating
Mm-hmm.
value for them long before you make contact with them.
Mm-hmm. And so, did you find yourself creating that content and becoming an expert in CPA firms, or how did you go about creating good content for companies like these that are sophisticated and they have services even beyond
Yeah.
typical CPA services?
Yeah, I mean, so much of what an attorney, a CPA, and other, engineers, anybody, kind of those highly technical and skilled professionals in the professional services space. So much of what they know is far beyond, frankly, what I would know as a marketer. But that's not a problem, and actually, it's actually better in many cases, because you know prospects and clients of CPAs, attorneys, engineers, and et cetera, they're also not technical people, and they're not trained to that level as well. So one of the best things you can do as a marketer in that space is kind of be that filter, to be able to take that very technical knowledge that a CPA, as an example, knows, and translate it effectively into content that the leader of a business, a non-CPA, can understand. So at the end of the day, it always comes back to what a marketer really should be focused on, which is understanding the consumer, understanding what their needs, their pains, their goals are, being able to translate often very technical expertise into something they can truly understand, that's a marketer's role, right? And that's certainly what I would suggest I've become proficient at over the last several years.
Oh, very good, very good. All right, well, that
Yeah.
was very informative. I appreciate you sharing that with us. We're
Sure.
gonna switch gears just a little bit. This is a quick podcast. What other successful people in marketing like yourself would you like to acknowledge that should be on the podcast?
Yeah, I was thinking about an individual, a professional that I've worked alongside for off and on for a few years. Just on the phone with her the other day, kind of helping her talk through some strategic elements. She's also in the professional services space. Her name is Crystal Mapp, and she is a an industry marketing leader for a very large CPA and advisory firm called Whipley. And she could give, I think, a lot of your listeners and viewers some really great perspectives on how to take professional services to market by industry. So she came to mind.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Right. And then we have one more question, which is just for fun. Tell me the oldest technology you remember using.
So I remember using early on in my marketing career Pitney Bowes mailing machines.
Wow.
So
Okay. To explain what those are, because I do not know
well,
what those are.
yeah, so it was a pretty simple, just it was. I at the time I was a marketing leader for a small family-owned business, and one of the primary ways they drove visibility and leads, and this was before email, before really the websites were really a standard asset, if you will, was through mail, direct mail. So it was sending out postcards, sending out letters, sending out things in snail mail, so to speak. And so we did so much of that that it ultimately became more cost effective for the company I was leading to buy their own mailing equipment, sorting and mailing and postage equipment, than to continue to take it to a mailing house. So I remember not only helping them purchase that, but being a key operator. Today everybody's trying to learn how to manage their email marketing platforms and probably their automations associated with all of that. Well, back then that was the old school thing. You were learning how to run the mailing equipment. So I remember using that. I'm dating myself for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, if you can do some of that these days, it's actually can be more effective than you might realize just because no one's doing it.
Yep. Yep.
So
That's right. That's right.
sending out, a book or a physical copy of something can be an effective strategy nowadays because it's like everyone else is just doing digital stuff.
There's no question. There's no
Yeah.
question.
So I'm sure your experience with that's still valuable. And that's something that I'm learning about a little bit. I've got a funnel design that I'm going to be testing and sending out some actual physical stuff that people can purchase for a very low price. So I'm anxious to see what happens with that.
Very cool.
But yeah, that being able to have that experience in that is an asset now, I think, and a lot of some of us marketers are kind of returning to doing that. I know a guy, he sends out a physical newsletter by mail to his list every month. And he even puts like crossword puzzles in it, and it's just crazy what he does, sending out this physical newsletter, and he gets really good results with that. Because some people they'll give you their fake email, but if you ask for an address, they're almost never going to give you a fake address. And so he has a physical newsletter that he sends out, and really it really works well for him. So some of those tactics, we can blow people away with those, taking the extra mile and mailing actual something physical out. So I wish I knew, had your knowledge in that. I think it's still valuable.
Yeah, well, I Appreciate that. I don't know how much of that knowledge is still relevant today, given that it's been years since I used it, but there's no question. I'm sure there's still, if you get yourself in a position where, and I agree with you, doing something, mailing something out like that it is differentiating in today's environment. So if an organization were doing that at high volume and incurring significant expenses to do it, that's when you would probably want to evaluate maybe bringing in your own equipment. But I think it's definitely worth evaluating.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Chad. Thanks for being on today. We really appreciate it. We're gonna stop here as this is a short podcast. This has been the Life of a Marketer podcast. We release our podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 something. Never on the dot at 11. It's going to be a little bit before or after. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube. That's probably the best place to be informed about our videos. But we also stream it live across social media, Facebook, etc. So if you would like, you can also subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, but also give us a like on Facebook or follow us on our Facebook page. HiveLead is our business. If you can also be added to the email list. You just email me at jared@hiveleadmarketing.com, and where we can add you to the Life of a Marketer list, and we send out an email with a link to the podcast every time we release it. Thanks so much once again, Chad. This has been a great podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.